Hey MMA fans, this is Cage Minds, Micah Frankel doing our recap UFC on Fuel 1. There were 10 weigh-ins, there were 10 matchups. We'll tell you how our predictions went, tell you what happened throughout the night, tell you who got the bonuses. First fight, Tim the Dirty Bird Means took on Bernardo Treco Magalesh. We had predicted a first round TKO for Tim Means. Didn't work out quite that way, but his length, his striking advantage was greatly shown. He dominated through and throughout with the fight. It was on Facebook. Tim Means got a unanimous decision. 2 scorecards. It was 30-26, a dominating effort in his debut for Tim Means. Next matchup we have Anton Kuvadin versus Justin Salas. We had picked Anton Kuvadin by a split decision. Didn't work out that way. Justin Salas wins the fight with a unanimous decision. More movement, better footwork, better takedowns, more effective striking from the top position. A unanimous decision for Justin Salas. So we're 1-1 so far. Next matchup was to be Buddy Roberts versus Sean the Destroyer Loeffler. Loeffler ends up injuring his ankle in warm-ups. The fight was then canceled, so that one's null and void. Both men will look at another time to make their UFC debuts. Next matchup we had Jonathan Brookins versus Wagner Rocha. We had predicted a unanimous decision for the Ultimate Fighter winner, Jonathan Brookins. This fight started out with the 2 men exchanging, Rocha landing a few good rights. Jonathan Brookins throws a left kick to the midsection that Rocha catches, then tried to work his way up the leg to get to the body and achieve a takedown. But the takedown part fell short as Jonathan Brookins pushed his way on top, got into a weird, funky half-guard position, started throwing bombs, 5 of them land. Wagner Rocha's out. A first-round TKO, the 3rd of his career for Jonathan Brookins, and an impressive comeback after his defeat by Eric Koch. So Jonathan Brookins looks like he's back on the right path. Next matchup we had Ivan Pride of El Salvador Menjivar versus John Prince Albert. We had predicted a 3rd round armbar victory for Menjivar, feeling that he had the ground advantage. The striking could have been a little hairy because of the powerful shots that John Albert is able to land. This fight was fast, this fight was furious. Menjivar was in some bad positions a few times, taking some big shots for Albert, fought back, got John Albert on his back, was able to get it back to standing to a neutral position, striking again with a knockdown. Albert finally looked exhausted, like he had gassed out trying to finish Menjivar when he had Menjivar against the cage. Albert to his knees. Menjivar beautifully uses his legs to stick in the hooks, flans his opponent out, a rear naked choke, and a submission of the night award, 1st round rear naked choke. Ivan Menjivar now on a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC. So now we are 3-1 in our predictions. Next matchup we had TJ Dillashaw versus Yael the Gazelle Watson. We had predicted a 2nd round triangle victory, submission status from Yael Watson. TJ Dillashaw, I thought he'd be able to get the takedowns, get on top. If he won, it was going to be him with the unanimous decision. And with total domination of top control positions, ground and pound, being able to mix up his striking and his takedowns, changing levels, having Watson guessing. I missed the boat on this one totally. Dominant performance, great from TJ Dillashaw. Still needs to work a little bit on that submission defense, though, as Yael Watson in the 3rd round did catch the triangle I was looking for, had it in position, but then started using punches instead of grabbing the head, pulling it down, and locking in the submission. So it was close, but no cigar. We'll probably see Yael Watson one more time back in the octagon, and TJ Dillashaw puts that knockout loss to John Dodson in the Ultimate Fighter finale behind him. Looked impressive, looked like his training is really helping him. Looks like he can be the prospect that everyone was expecting in that bantamweight division. There's a new guy on the rise, TJ Dillashaw. Next matchup we're talking about, this was heavyweights. Stipe Miocic versus Phil DeFries. We had predicted a 3rd round TKO from Miocic. Looking for DeFries to sloppily be jumping out there for takedowns. And from Phil DeFries, he was not able to get the clinch in this fight and went even quicker. He landed a few shots on the chin of Miocic, and it looked like it just woke Stipe up. Miocic with a big right hand that definitely hurt DeFries. DeFries backed up to the cage, and then Stipe just charged, laid the leather, several big right hands, a 1st round TKO, and a knockout of the night award for Stipe Miocic. The next up for him, he's going to be moving forward, but both of these men are about 240 pounds. We've already talked about some of these smaller, we've already probably heard people talking about this, some of these smaller heavyweights. Now that there's the incorporation of the Strikeforce heavyweights, there's so many guys that are going to be pushing that 265-pound limit. These 240-pound heavyweights could be in danger. But it's been a good 2 fights out so far in the UFC for Stipe Miocic, and Phil DeFries really needs to go work on that striking game. Next matchup we have middleweights. Aaron A-Train Simpson taking on Ronnie Marks. We had predicted a unanimous decision for Aaron Simpson. I thought he was going to use the same strategy he did against Red Schaefer, using his boxing, his sprawl and brawl, and not getting into the clinch situations. In the first round, Aaron Simpson does land a huge uppercut, tried to swarm on his opponent, tried to finish it off, was unable to. The first round definitely went to Aaron Simpson. Throughout the next 2 rounds, basically, Ronnie Marks was able to land some big leg kicks, cause a huge well on the leg of Aaron Simpson. I'm thinking it was the left leg, and was able to show that he was the bigger, stronger, more physical grappler, grabbing Aaron Simpson, pushing him against the cage, and using that octagon control, putting the cage up there, even achieved 2 takedowns. And Aaron Simpson, one of the best takedown defenses in the history of the UFC. Ronnie Marks eked out the split decision, and he's a big, strong heavyweight, needs to improve that striking, has a great clinch game, good wrestling, and a great submission game. Ronnie Marks, a big middleweight that's going to be a threat to be reckoned with. Aaron Simpson, disappointed after this, is potentially thinking of dropping down to welterweight. You know, every fighter they lose, they want to drop down a weight class. They want to be the bigger, stronger bullier once they get bigger, stronger guys bullying them around. So I'm suspecting that we'll eventually see this weight cut and the drop down. Aaron Simpson pointed out that he doesn't cut much weight to make 85. He'll probably start cutting weight then, try to make 70. Said it was weird being 197 pounds at middleweight fighting a guy that was probably 205, 215. It's incredible to me how guys that are supposed to be 185 pounds can be so big, but I still don't get the weight cutting and the fact that they get 24 hours to get huge again after they weigh in. I'd like to see guys at 185 pounds fight at 185 pounds, but I'm just throwing crazy notions out there for you. Let's get back to the results. We're on to the co-main event now. This was another heavyweight matchup between the skyscraper Stefan Struve and a very hairy, with a scarf, Dave Pee Wee Herman. We had predicted this fight to end by TKO, and we had predicted it for Dave Herman. That was not to be after he won the first round with a plethora of different kind of striking techniques. Really seemed not to hurt Stefan Struve, but just outpoint him throughout the first round. Stefan Struve maintained his ground, started to put together some combinations instead of just throwing single shots. Landed a huge uppercut that put Dave Herman on his butt, was able to get on top of him, achieve a mount position immediately, rain down punches. The ref eventually stops the fight. A TKO in the second round for Stefan Struve, as we thought it would go for Dave Pee Wee Herman. Well, not so great on that pick for us. Now we're up to the main event. Diego the Dream Sanchez versus Jake the Juggernaut Ellenberger. They had promised the war that we had not seen at UFC 143. So we were excited for this one. They did deliver. The first 2 rounds were definitely controlled by the striking and the range keeping of Jake Ellenberger. He even got a takedown here and there. Some good ground and pound. Ellenberger was in control, beating up Sanchez. The third round comes, and Diego started finding his mark, started to tee off with left hands, was able to get Ellenberger to the floor, almost took his back, was landing vicious ground and pound. If this fight would have went 2 more rounds, it would have been a 5-round main event. Who knows how it would have went, but playing to everybody, it was official. Jake Ellenberger took the first 2, Diego took the third. Unanimous decision, 29-28. That fight was a war. It was everything that it lived up to. Jake Ellenberger should get this shot at interim champion Carlos Condit to keep the division moving. Diego Sanchez, maybe this opens him back up for. We heard Matt Hughes wants one more fight. We could put that one together. That was supposed to happen at UFC 135. I really don't feel that Diego loses too much ground off of this loss, though. It was a great war. Both men had their moments. It was just in a 3-round fight. Definitely Ellenberger eked him out. So for our predictions for Cage Minds, we were 5-4. Not a great night for us. A great night of fights, though. Anyway, every night of fights. It's just a great night. I was so happy to watch them. But not great on our predictions. We'll try to do better next time. Like the video, leave us a comment, subscribe to the videos. hit us up, Facebook, Twitter. One other piece of news real quick is that Dana White at the press conferences did talk about the need to make all main events here on forward 5 rounds again, that the contract had changed. We were expecting, all 5-round main events, and that will definitely happen on pay-per-views. And as for the Fox, Fuel, and FX shows, at least FX2 and Fuel 2 are going to be 3-round main events because the bout agreements were already signed. Hopefully we'll get to see 5-round main events again. They're so exciting. They're so awesome. And every time that's only 3 rounds, you just think, what if there was 2 more rounds? Well, this has been Cage Minds, our recap, like we had said, from UFC on Fuel 1. Have a good day. Uncage the warrior within yourself. See you next time.